Friday's light spread across the kitchen tiles like warm butter when Danielle Parker zipped her small overnight bag. The jasmine candle she loved flickered on the counter, and the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the spaces between her thoughts. "Baby, you sure you're not coming?" she asked, leaning against the island. Marcus swiped on his phone, an absent smile stitched across his lips. "I told you, deliverables. I'm close to the finish line. You go, Mom's been asking." "She's sweet," Danielle said, tucking a curl behind her ear. "She keeps telling me, my Danielle is too busy saving the world to visit me." Marcus chuckled. "That's because you are. Healthcare policy isn't small work. Neither is marriage," she teased, but he didn't look up. Something in her stomach folded on itself, then smoothed out. "Okay, I'll be back Sunday night." "You can stay till Monday," he said too quickly. "You hardly take time for you." She nodded, pushing the thought away. "Text me if you need anything." "Will do," he said and kissed her forehead, not her mouth. Before we begin today's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, African Tales by Mira. Don't forget to like, share, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our captivating African stories. Your comments and support mean the world to us. Danielle drove the 3 hours to Atlanta, singing loud to a 90s R&B playlist as the skyline rose like a promise. Marcus's mother, Ms. Parker, hugged her at the door. "My baby," Ms. Parker cooed. "Come inside before these Georgia mosquitoes decide you're a buffet." The weekend was slow and soft. Colored greens simmered, gospel radio sighed from the kitchen. Miss Parker told old family stories about grit, loss, and second chances. "You know how your husband is," she said Saturday evening, shuffling cards for spades. "Headstrong like his father. But he loves you, baby." Danielle smiled, meaning it. "I believe he does." Sunday morning, a calendar alert flashed across Danielle's phone. Board presentation, Monday 9 a.m. She'd prepped the deck, but her cue notes and printed briefs were in Charlotte. "I'll call Marcus," she told Miss Parker. "I might head back tonight." She called once. The line was dead. She called again. Still nothing. Texts hung unread like raindrops that refused to fall. "You know these cell towers," Miss Parker chuckled. "Probably sleeping after church like the rest of us." Danielle waited through lunch, through cleanup, through the last sweet spoon of banana pudding. The silence from Marcus curdled into anxiety. By 7:30 p.m., she hugged Ms. Parker tightly. "I'm so sorry to cut this short." Ms. Parker touched her cheek. "Drive safe. Tell Marcus his mama said pick up his phone." The bus was quiet, cold air conditioning licking at her ankles. Streetlights smeared across the window like paint strokes. Danielle rehearsed her opening lines in a whisper, tracing bullet points on her palm with her thumb. Every so often, she tried Marcus again. The call failed before it rang. The cab turned onto their block at 12:04 a.m. Charlotte lounged in a hush, porch lights like pearls, the sky a deep ink. Danielle tipped the driver and slipped her key into the lock, careful not to wake neighbors. Inside, the house breathed familiar, citrus cleaner, the faint musk of Marcus's cologne, the living room lamp left in its usual dim glow. "Babe," she called softly, setting her bag down by the couch. No answer. A silicone phone charger dangled off the armrest, unplugged, like a used-up snake. She padded down the hall, heels in hand now, toes cool on the hardwood. Their bedroom door was ajar, just enough for the light to draw a thin blade across the hallway. She smiled despite her nerves. "You fell asleep, didn't you?" she whispered, half playful. "Wait till I tell you about your mom's spade strategy." Danielle nudged the door with her shoulder and stepped into a world she didn't recognize. Marcus, shirtless, breath catching in his throat. A woman, brown skin glowing in their bedside lamp, silk robe twisted, lipstick smudged like a broken rule. A startled gasp. The sheet clutched. The air ripped. Danielle's bag thudded to the floor. Time shattered into glittering, useless pieces. Her throat tried to form his name and failed. Danielle. Marcus croaked. What are you? What am I doing here? She repeated, the words strange in her mouth. This is my home. The woman flinched. I don't, Danielle said, voice low. Not a word. Marcus scrambled, grabbing the blanket as if modesty was the sin. It's not. Do not lie to me in my own bedroom, Danielle said, every syllable ice and flame. I can smell the truth. Silence. A car rolled past outside. Somewhere, a neighbor's wind chime laughed, oblivious. Danielle, please, Marcus said, palms out, like she was the fire and he the fool with no water. I swear I can explain. She laughed once. It snapped like old wood. Explain how my husband, brought another woman into our bed? Use small words. I seem to be struggling. The woman slid off the mattress, toes searching the rug. I didn't know. You knew enough to keep quiet when I walked in, Danielle cut in. Shoes. Purse. Door. The woman nodded quickly, gathered herself, and slipped past Danielle with whispered, I'm sorry. Not to me, Danielle said without looking at her. To your standards. When the door clicked downstairs, Danielle let the quiet swell. Marcus tried again. It meant nothing. She tilted her head, studying him like a specimen. That's the most violent sentence men use to minimize harm. Baby, do not baby me. Her nails pressed crescents into her palms. She walked to her vanity, picked up the framed wedding photo, 2 bright smiles, the world kneeling in blessing, and set it face down. You asked me to go see your parents, she said evenly. You insisted. I thought you needed a break. What I needed, she said, was a partner. He flinched. We've been off. You've been busy. I felt lonely. She laughed again, bitter sugar. There's therapy for that. Walks. Talks. We could have been messy and honest. But you chose to be cowardly and secret. He moved toward her. She moved back. Don't touch me, she said, a tremor rippling through her control. I need air. She walked out to the living room, sat on the couch, and stared at the wall clock marching past 12:20, 12:21, 12:22. Every tick sounded like a door closing. Dawn crawled up the blinds. Danielle hadn't slept. Her body refused the idea. She watched the room turn from gray to pearl. Marcus came downstairs in a hoodie, eyes red. He had aged 10 years in 5 hours. Please don't leave, he said. We can talk. We are talking, she replied. You just don't like what you hear. He stood near the mantel, where their anniversary card still perched, open to a promise he'd written, forever choosing you. You remember when we couldn't afford this place? He asked. We ate ramen at the window and pretended it was date night in Paris. I remember, she said. I also remember we vowed to be each other's safe place. I messed up, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I messed up, but it's not because I stopped loving you. Love without discipline is just chaos wearing perfume, Danielle replied. And I'm done living inside your chaos. Her phone pinged. Tiana, her best friend and operations lead. You ready? I'll meet you at the office at 7. Danielle stood. I have a board presentation. That's today, Marcus asked, as if the world should pause for his crisis. It's been on the calendar for weeks, she said. The one I tried to call you about. He swallowed. My phone died. Your vows did, she said, and walked to the bedroom. She dressed in a navy pantsuit, slid notes into her leather portfolio, and spritzed perfume like armor. At the door, Marcus whispered, Do I still have a chance? She looked at him, really looked, and saw a man small in a room he had made big. I don't know. But you no longer have my certainty. The elevator mirrored Danielle's face back at her. Steady eyes, cracked heart. At the 12th floor, Tiana wrapped her in a hug that smelled like cocoa butter and lavender. Girl, you're tight as a bowstring, Tiana said. What happened? Danielle weighed silence against truth and decided honesty was the only thing she could still claim. I caught him, she said, voice even, as if reading minutes from a meeting. In our bed. Tiana's eyes widened. Marcus. Marcus. When? Midnight. Lord, Tiana whispered, bracing her hands on her hips. Say the word and I'll key his car like it owes me money. A small smile twitched on Danielle's mouth. Tempting. But no. Tiana studied her. You presenting like this? I'm presenting because of this, Danielle said. If I lose myself, he wins twice. They double-checked the deck, revised a chart that looked petty in a high-stakes room, printed pristine copies. In the boardroom, executives settled. Grays, blacks, subtle ties, patient faces. Danielle breathed in, then out. Good morning, she began. I'm Danielle Parker, Director of Policy Integration, and today I'll outline how our new framework will change patient outcomes across 3 counties. Her voice found its power like a river re-entering its banks. She clicked through slides, answered questions cleanly, spun a hostile query into an opportunity. When the last slide faded, the board chair nodded. Excellent work, Ms. Parker. Let's proceed. In the hallway, Tiana squeezed her hand. You were a surgeon with words. Danielle exhaled. I needed to know I could still do something right today. That evening, Danielle returned to a house that now felt like it belonged to a neighbor. Marcus sat on the couch, stared at nothing, a bottle of whiskey sweating on a coaster. I called all day, he said hoarsely. You blocked me. I did. Please, Daniel, call me Danielle, she said, setting a boundary like a brick. You don't get my nickname tonight. He ran a hand across his jaw. I ended it with her. I don't know what it was. I've been feeling like I'm losing you to your career. She blinked, incredulous. You didn't lose me. You refused to meet me where I am. Would you have listened? He asked. Every time I tried to bring it up, you were on a deadline. Then bring it up loudly, she snapped. Schedule it. Cry. Demand therapy. Slam a door if you must. Do anything but sabotage our home. His face crumpled. I'm sorry. Sorry is a starting line, not a finish. What do you want me to do? Tell your mother, she said. Tell your father. Tell the truth to someone who taught you how to love. He paled. Danielle, please. Do you want a marriage you can be proud of or an image you can hide behind? She asked. He stared at the floor. I don't know. She grabbed a week's worth of clothes, work files, and a framed picture of her grandmother who had taught her how to stitch a hem and a life. Where are you going? He asked, panic breaking his voice. To Tiana's, she said. I won't heal under the roof that broke me. Tiana's guest room was small, sun-warmed, and smelled like fresh linen. Danielle sat on the edge of the bed, fingers worrying the corner of a throw pillow. You're safe here, Tiana said, pressing a mug of chamomile into her hands. Rule 1. You don't explain your pain to anyone who hasn't earned the right to hear it. Danielle's eyes brimmed. I feel stupid. Stupid is what love calls you when you find out it wasn't returned properly, Tiana said softly. You're not stupid. You're wounded. Days blended into weeks. Marcus texted long paragraphs, regret, reasons, requests. Danielle seldom replied. When she did, the messages were clean and logistical. He sent flowers. They died on Tiana's kitchen island because no one changed the water. He called from different numbers. She blocked them. He left a voicemail crying. Danielle listened once, felt her ribcage protest, and archived it. On a quiet Sunday, Ms. Parker called. Danielle's hand shook before she answered. "Baby," Ms. Parker said gently. "Marcus told me the truth." Danielle closed her eyes. "I'm so sorry." "No," Ms. Parker replied. "He's the one who should be sorry. If you need space from me too, I'll understand. But I needed you to hear this. You are not to blame." Danielle's breath hitched. "Thank you. And if you decide to leave my son," Ms. Parker added, voice steady as prayer, "you will always have a place at my table." That night, Danielle wrote 3 pages in a journal, words tumbling out like a confession to herself. "I do not have to shrink around someone else's bad choices. I am not less lovable because someone was unfaithful. Healing doesn't ask me to pretend. It asks me to tell the truth." 2 months later, a text flashed from an unknown number. "Hi, I'm Kendra. We've never met. I think we should talk. I'm the woman from that night." Danielle stared at the screen for a long minute. She typed, deleted, typed again. Public place. Bright daylight. Tomorrow, 1 p.m., Bloom Cafe. "I'll be there," Kendra replied. Bloom Cafe gleamed with honeyed wood and the fog of espresso. Kendra arrived in a denim jacket and no makeup, like she'd stripped herself of pretense before coming. "I'm sorry," Kendra said before she Saturday, "for my part in your pain." Danielle folded her hands. "Why contact me?" "Because half my life is built on narratives men gave me," Kendra said, eyes glassy. "I don't want to harm another woman by staying in a story I didn't write." Danielle nodded once. "What did he tell you?" "That y'all were separated," Kendra said, flinching at her own words. "He said you were focused on your career and had moved on with someone else." Danielle let out a breath that felt like it had been locked under her ribs for years. "He lied to both of us." Kendra swallowed. "I ended it. That night. I blocked him. But I needed to tell you that it wasn't an affair I stepped into knowingly. Not to clear my name with you, just to be accountable." "Accountability is a language I respect," Danielle said. "Thank you." Kendra hesitated. "There's more." She lowered her voice. "He's been seeing a therapist. Not to excuse anything, but I thought you should know he's unraveling. Work put him on leave after some blow-ups." Danielle's mouth tightened. Compassion tried to climb the wall she'd built and slid back down. "He can heal," she said. "He just can't heal on my body." They sat for another half hour, 2 women refusing to be enemies, sharing quiet truths about their 20s, about settling for crumbs when they were starving for full meals. When they stood to leave, Kendra squeezed Danielle's hand. "You deserved better." "I do," Danielle said, and realized the present tense was a choice. That night, Danielle turned off her phone and sat on the floor of Tiana's guest room with her laptop. The glow lit her fingers as she began typing, not to Marcus, not to Miss Parker, but to herself. "Dear Danielle, you have survived the nights you thought would break you. You turned up to the board meeting with a cracked heart and still delivered excellence. You forgave yourself for mistaking endurance for love. You will build a life that doesn't ask you to beg for loyalty." The letter poured out, a river finding its mouth. When she finished, she didn't cry. She felt something simpler and more dangerous: direction. She Googled family law attorneys Charlotte Black women and read bios like she was reading maps. One name glowed: Attorney Rhea Collins. Reputation: surgical, steady, merciful where possible, ruthless where necessary. The consultation was Tuesday. Danielle wore the gray dress that said, "I am reasonable and determined." Attorney Collins listened without interrupting, took notes, and finally asked, "What do you want, Miss Parker?" "I want my name back," Danielle said. "My piece. My share of what we built, fairly." Children? None. Attorney Collins nodded. Paper trail. Texts. A timeline. Bank statements if needed. We'll start with a separation agreement, Collins said. We'll request transparency on finances, agree to divide property, and outline boundaries. If he complies, we keep this clean. If he doesn't, we litigate. How long? As long as it needs to be, Collins replied. But here's what I know, you will not leave this process smaller. Danielle left the office feeling like her skeleton had been rebuilt with steel. Outside, the city buzzed with people buying smoothies and making school pickups and calling rideshares. Life was happening, no trumpet announcements, just ordinary bravery. That evening, she opened a new project in her notes app, Podcast, The Night I Came Home Early. Episode titles bloomed like crocuses after snow. When the phone won't ring back. Therapy isn't a threat. Accountability versus apology. What my grandmother taught me about leaving well. She recorded a pilot on her iPad, voice low, face bare, heart unclenched. Sometimes, she said into the mic, the night that broke you freed you. You just couldn't tell yet. The divorce papers arrived at Marcus's condo 3 weeks later. Clean type, clean lines, clean boundaries. He called, and for once Danielle answered. I got them, he said, voice sandpaper. I know, she replied. I'm in therapy, he blurted. Twice a week. I'm facing things. Childhood stuff. My father. The way he loved my mother with conditions. I'm glad, she said honestly. I hope you keep going. Does any of it matter? He asked. It matters for you, Danielle said. And for whoever you love next, if you ever do it right. Silence. Then, do you hate me? I don't, she said, surprising them both. Hate is a tether. I'm trying to be untethered. He cried, quietly. She let him have his moment. Then she said, please sign. Please don't make me fight for my freedom. I'll sign, he whispered. You deserved better from me. The podcast launched on a Wednesday. Tiana popped a bottle of grocery store Prosecco and poured it into mismatched mugs. To telling the truth, Tiana toasted. To not being afraid of it, Danielle answered. By Friday, the episode had 1,200 plays. Women from Houston to Newark leaving voice notes that sounded like diary pages. My husband lied for 5 years. I thought I was the only one. You made me feel less crazy. Danielle answered each message with care. You're not alone. Document everything. Your future self is watching. Give her a story she can live with. Ms. Parker invited her to Sunday dinner. Danielle went because Grace did not demand erasure. At the table, Miss Parker slid her an index card with a recipe for sweet potato pie and whispered, for when you're ready to make new traditions. Thank you, Danielle said, chest aching and full. In late autumn, the judge stamped the final decree. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled like rain about to happen. Danielle looked up, then ahead. Her phone buzzed with a notification. The Night I Came Home Early featured new podcast. She laughed, a real one, the kind that tripped and fell into joy. On her balcony that evening, the city glittered. Somewhere a saxophone practiced the same bar until it was beautiful. Danielle wrapped herself in a throw and hit record. Tonight's episode, she said, is about choosing who you'll be when no one is clapping. It's about documents and boundaries and the sacred art of leaving with your head high. It's about the future I can't see yet, but trust is coming. A message pinged from an unfamiliar sender, Ria Collins. He signed. Funds transferred. Keys exchanged. It's done. Danielle typed back. Thank you for making space for my courage. She closed her eyes and listened to the city's hum. Not happily ever after. Something rarer. Happily, regardless. Months later, at a community panel on women's wellness, A man in a linen shirt asked a question about accountability that made the room pause. He didn't look at Danielle like a savior or a conquest, just a person. He introduced himself afterward as Julian, a school counselor who taught boys how to name their feelings. "Your work mattered to my students," he said. "Would you consider speaking in our mentorship program?" Danielle smiled, not with yearning, not with fear, just with a clear yes.